Hey guys, just really appreciate you guys coming out to our house today. We're looking forward to spending some time with a power couple, Spencer and Nikki Childs. And so thanks for coming out and spending time with us.
We're glad to be here.
Awesome.
I think that we do I think we do well growing as individuals, and then we talk about it or we notice it and we say for instance, he just finished and read All of Think and Grow Rich, but I didn't read it with him. So I understand that he's growing, but I'm not necessarily growing with him in that aspect of that book. And so I think that we just need to get better at actually doing those things more united and together, because I think
But it's definitely okay to have your own life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're both are individuals. It's okay to do certain things and the other person not do it, but you're gonna have some certain, ground rules on it. Yeah. Now I don't think you sit down and you make a list of ground rules, but you have a certain understanding between each other.
But one thing, and I just thought about it, and it has nothing to do with necessarily your comment, but I was just thinking about it in general, and it's on my goals for the year because I always have to remind myself for it. But you guys should remind each other daily what makes that person special. Daily you're building up their mentality. You gotta protect your spouse's mentality more than anyone else. It's the same thing with the brand new trainee. So I used to come home and then vent to him, right? All the negative things going on in the team, thinking he's in it with me. I don't have to worry about this guy. He's stronger than me. He can handle it. Until he called me out on it one day. I was like, listen, I have to protect my own mentality. I can't just keep listening to this. I'm expected to go out there and work and stay strong for everyone else. And I never actually really thought about it up until that point where I was like, that's so true. We all have to protect our own mentalities more than ever. And even if things are going bad, something charges back, someone quits, my job when I come home is still to tell him, just like if he wasn't in the business, how great the day was or what we did to build our business that day. But then on a daily basis, remind him, I just think you're the most amazing leader, or you did that training so great. More or less building him up, he will improve or live up to the expectations I set for him, and that I literally feed in his head. Just like the brand new person, you're finding those actual genuine things that person has in them of why they're gonna win, and you should be doing that for your spouse.
So I love that, especially because that's one of our recent issues is helping each other. So if I'm being negative or having an off day, she's usually the positive one, and
which is good.
And then in reverse, but it's almost to a fault because we're not on the same page.
Yeah.
It should be nice to be
It's
both positive at the
exhausting.
same time.
He'll be you need to think about this the right way, and I'll be I'm not ready to think about it that way yet, and then we're not on the same page as far as both being uplifting and positive, because it's almost our defenses go up, and because he's being super positive, I have to be negative, or it's just we can't find that balance.
It would actually avert it if instead he was instead of saying you should be positive, he should say, Nikki, the reason why I love you is you've been able to get through all of this. You've done it before. You are a positive person. I believe in you. And then that would make it very hard for you to get upset with him if he was really genuine in talking about that.
That's true.
So when you're trying to, make the person become positive, you can't just be you should be more positive. If a trainee is having a bad day or something happened, you should look at this on the bright side. They're go away. They're not willing to take it, but if I remind them of the benefits and their reasons, then it's easier. And as our spouses, we know them so well, it's the first person we can vent to is the first person we can get upset with because we are most comfortable with them.
Right.
And it's kind of sad that the people we love the most, we treat them the cruelest. We know their deep, dark secrets, and we let them out, especially when we get, in a fight, or we know what's going to wound them more than anything.
Yeah.
And we have to be very careful and cautious of that, because we all know it's never our intention.
Yeah.
But sometimes when we get upset and offended, it's our natural instinct to lash out, and I'm going to make you hurt just as much as I felt hurt by what you said to me.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to what you were saying, too. Don't feel so comfortable with dumping your crap on his lawn. you do the same thing. Don't feel so comfortable dumping your garbage on her lawn, right? Like, you love this person, so you also need to make sure that they are able to function without you always needing some place to, vent. I mean, I don't know where you go, but going sometimes to your spouse and always venting isn't always a good thing, right? So I think, and I'm not saying hide stuff from your spouse, I'm just saying be conscious that they have their own stuff that they're dealing with also.
Because it can become so exhausting.
Yeah, well then you just have this negative cycle of energy always going, So one of the things is to lessen the amount of times that you actually are feeling, whatever that feeling is about not feeling good about what's going on. Like you need to go through a process personally where you change your mentality, you change the way you look at things. Instead of things are happening to you, they're happening for you. And you got to go through some sort of ritual or routine to get yourself in the right positive energy zone, pretty much right from the get-go when you wake up. Right when you wake up, you should, if you're waking up and thinking about all the crap, you're gonna have a crappy day, right? But you wake up and figure out how to put yourself in the right spot, and the first 10 minutes or 20 minutes or half hour of your day, you focus on you getting, your mind in the right spot. Most likely the things throughout the day, they won't bug you as much, right? It's a lot of it is you're just venting about your inability to cope with just stuff that doesn't even matter. I mean, making things bigger than what they actually are, and then having to vent about it. A lot of times, and I don't share so much of the business, I mean, I think there's a lot of times where at the end of the night, we come home, and she loves to talk about everything that's going on, and then she asks me about my day, I'm all like, yeah, it was cool, right? I mean, that was that's my summary of how it is, because I kind of like to focus on the new stuff that's going on, right? Not just always replaying the bad stuff or the old stuff, right? I mean, there's some good stuff and some, maybe negative stuff or whatever that I'll replay. But for the most part, it's already done with. I'm all about making now new memories, new things moving forward, And so I spend a lot of energy just trying to make sure my mind's going in the right direction. And if my mind's going in the right direction, then I don't even have to worry about dumping trash on her yard because there's no trash to dump. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's one of the most important things is just to start, maybe I don't know if you need to read a book, or you need to, pray a certain way, or I don't know what it is, a ritual in the morning that gets you, it maybe something throughout the day too, right? But dude, all the stuff that you think is bad, it's not even, there's so many things that we think are bad that are nothing, right? You'll go a week and you'll forget what that bad thing was, that you were so upset and venting about, right? It's just kind of funny when I get into an argument with Deanne, all I have to do is stop the argument and I'll go a half hour and she forgot what we were even arguing about.
That's me too.
Yeah. So.
But I still have the feeling.
Yeah, well then I have to just work on the feeling. It's easier to change the feeling than it is to change the argument.
But I think if you put things in play, as far as a systematize until you develop the habit. So for me, when I read those goals that are posted on my mirror every morning, and once I read them, it reminds me on the one section that's my family and my spouse, it reminds me oh, I didn't do that today. I didn't let them know how special they were. I didn't let Mason know that he was born to do something great. It's in my goals. I let Mason know that he was born for greatness. Every day I read it, I'm oh, am I doing that? So it just reminds me. And every day in my goals, it's let Christopher know that he's amazing. What am I going to do today? And so it puts me in a totally different mindset at the beginning of the day. And then when I start to think negative, I've talked to Nikki about this a lot. And regardless if it's with my spouse or anyone, I immediately, because I read this in a book, but talks about give yourself 90 seconds to have a pity party. You get 90 seconds and then you have to say stop it and then list everything you're grateful for because you can't have both. You cannot be upset and have gratitude in your heart. And so it wouldn't matter if it was I'm so grateful for my home, I'm so grateful for my kids, and I just have to really think about everything I'm grateful for, whether it it doesn't matter what it is. It could be on this whole religious level, but you can't be angry and have gratitude. Yeah. And so it gets me out of the mindset, and I'm my freaking stupid pity party. I hate that I go there because it will spiral out of control. Because there are a lot of negative things you can just kind of build upon to validate your case. So that's something I do. But I get more offended than he gets all the time. That's probably true.
Okay, pause.
Okay, do you have another question?
Yeah, so just like specifically to the business, I think that a lot of times, like I've talked to Deanne about it, but when things are like going wrong in our marriage or going wrong in business, I guess, or just like we're not on the same page or things just don't fit, like maybe we just can't see the light at the end of the tunnel or whatever it is, right? I think the first place we blame is like, oh, the business and the stress and like it's doing this to our marriage. And like, how do you guys, I don't know if you can even relate to that in a sense, but like I feel like that's been a lot of my problem is like with Spencer just being like, well, like all of this stress and these issues that are coming up are all business related. If we like, and so how do you like be able to, do you understand what I'm saying?
I've never said that.
I said that.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll let you answer
regardless,
that, or I'll
all the
answer.
time.
Yeah, no, what I'm gonna say is, regardless of the situation, it's never constructive to blame.
Essentially,
outside
it's the
sources.
business like activities though that bring up the conversations, right? So that's what
Always,
people
yes.
get upset about.
Disagreements in the
So, yeah,
business, yeah.
So
No,
personally,
no. I think
okay.
I think what this question, not what you just said. I think what this question is pertaining to is something happens in the business, and then
Or it doesn't happen.
in the business, and it's frustrating, and so what it does is it creates stress
Yeah.
in the marriage,
We
right?
fight.
And you don't know how to process through it.
Yeah.
So then you end up fighting because you're in a bad mood because
Yeah.
crap is going wrong in the business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it still circles back around to the comment you made. For me, it's my problem. I got to figure it out. Remove the business out of the situation, and you're gonna fill the time with something else, and it's gonna be a problem. And you go back to blaming the problem. The problem isn't the business. It's not the exterior forces like you're talking about. The problem is the individual and how they cope with what's going on.
So I was just gonna say to that, like it's never the business. We just choose to blame it on something. But once you guys take complete accountability, that is the one thing that you had asked a question earlier about the mental toughness. Like, what is the one secret that has helped me in my business? So no, we don't ever blame the business as far as it affecting our relationship, because it doesn't. We were both in the business way before. We know it's not the business. But the one thing that helped me was taking a personal accountability no matter what. Even if like anyone else would be like, well, that's not your fault, or some external forces created that. I learned to take complete accountability for everything that happened to me, and that was empowering because I actually got to control it. So when I stopped blaming anything but myself, it allowed me to take complete accountability for what was going on, but to self-reflect and be like, how could I have made this different? What could I have done to change this? And regardless what it is, it's going to help me for the next time. But it's more about that growth. It's more about continuing to grow, build each other up, because it's not about the business. It's just about removing it, because what you're feeling is the frustration of growth. And the business is forcing you to grow, and that's the uncomfortable part. It is the most uncomfortable part for most people, and it's the thing that if they can't move past it, if they can't accept the frustration, because frustration is going to be progress for you guys, and every time you're able to overcome it, you guys progress in life, even as a person, but in business, and that's what forces us to become better people. It's embracing that conflict and figuring out how am I going to learn from it. And like, I mean, simple things, like when Chris, like I came to an event late, and like I was with other people, but I wasn't driving, right? So I couldn't really regulate the time, but I chose to go with them. We chose to go out to eat for one of the breaks, and we were supposed to be back at a certain time. Chris got so upset and was screaming at me. I was like, it's not my fault. I couldn't control it. I wasn't driving. He's like, then maybe next time you should think about how you're not going to go with them. And like, it was more or less like I was pissed at him at the time, so I was not going to like be like, yeah, you're right. So no, I did not respond like that, but I had to self-reflect and think about it. But yeah, I put myself in that situation that I couldn't control the circumstance, but I put myself in that situation. And next time I really need to think about who I drive to events with, or where I put my mindset, or where am I going with this. And so I had to self-reflect on just the little things that I felt like were out of my control. But once you play victim to a circumstance, like I can't control this, you lose your power. And so For me, that was the biggest mental toughness secret I ever had to do was take complete accountability for everything I have in my life, my bad relationships, not like, or the feelings I have with my son or anything like that. I had to then personally reflect, what could I do to have changed it? And then now go do it, and that's the tough thing.
That's awesome.
Oh, thanks. What other questions?
So you say you guys don't hold each other like accountable necessarily in activity?
Yeah.
Or at what point do you guys kind of hold yourselves accountable to each
Well,
other?
it's true. I think we both don't want to let each other down. Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk? We both don't want to let each other down. So originally, we had laid out what our jobs were, right?
Oh yeah,
So
that was our question.
That was
we listed out everything that had to be done. From prospects to contacts to leading the team, the PPIs, the invites, we listed every little thing, the phone calls after the BPM, everything, a whole sheet of paper. Then I listed my strengths and I listed his strengths, and then he did the exact same thing. He listed his own strengths and then he listed my strengths. And then we came together to say what each other were what we thought, But then with those strengths, we helped to select what one person should do over the other person, because you should play to your strengths. And there's going to be certain things that no one wants to do. No one here wants to make contacts. No one. I was like, you make the contact. He's like, you make the contact. I hate making contacts. And I was like, rock, paper, scissors it. And I was like, no, it's okay. I would rather make contacts than prospects. So you go prospect, I'll make the contacts. And so for the first year we were married, I made all the contacts, but then I hated it. And then I was still on his case about you're not prospecting right. These numbers are bogus. And I was getting on his case all the time. It was causing more fights. That then we ended up both making contacts. We just contacted our own people. But ultimately, I know my responsibility is to bring in the referrals, and his responsibility is to bring in the prospects, because we were going to just play to our strengths. We both call them. We're both great in the field as far as trainers. And so we told each other, this is how many days I'm going to dedicate to this business. And he's like, this is how many days I'm going to dedicate to this business. So I don't ever want to let him down or not do what I said I was going to do. And that's the only way we hold each other accountable in essence, because I'm going to keep my commitment. I'm going out this many nights in the matchup. I'm going to show up for this many points at the end of the month. And I'm going to help you bring in this many brand new personal recruits. We have laid out what my job is for our team. For us as a team unit, this is what I'm going to do to help us reach our goals. Once again, it's that end goal, right? What am I going to do? What's my participation? And same with him. He's laid out his own standards and what he's going to do and what he's going to show up for. And so I don't ever have to be like, where are you at? On the tracking, we'll talk about hey, what do you got in the pipeline now? Like that. But I don't ever, you promised you were going to have 10,000 points. Where is it? That never happens.
That's the one part that's not to do. You start calling out the other person. You need to develop an environment where they call out themselves.
Yeah.
I call out myself for not doing what I'm supposed to do. She calls out herself for not doing what she's supposed to do. She doesn't need me to call her out, and I don't need her to call me out.
Because you already feel bad.
Yeah, so the process really is, and by the way, this is constantly going on in our relationship. Several times a week, we're reaffirming what our strength zones are with each other. We're reaffirming, I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to do this. This is my area. This is, my area. Whatever whoever it is that's taking on, or hey, I'm struggling in this area. Is there a chance for you to fit this in? There's several times a week that we end up just talking about that in passing, and then you basically have trust in the other person, right? You just trust that they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and if you're the type of spouse that's giving your spouse a lot of reasons not to trust you, you need to. That's when it comes back to personal accountability. You need to fix that, right? If there's a lot of stuff going on in our life and she doesn't trust me to do any of it, the stuff that I say I'm going to do, then who's that on? It's on me. Why, what am I doing? I got to go back and reflect and say, what am I doing where my spouse doesn't trust that I'm going to do it? And a lot of times it's because I didn't do it, right? And so then what I got to do, I got to go do it, man up to speak. And I got to go out and get it done, And so especially if I said I was going to do it, so I got to follow through.
These are good questions, you guys.
Well, I just feel like that's been our struggle. Like, specifically
Oh.
the question, no.
I
The
mean,
question
like,
of, like,
in
what are our
everything.
roles?
Yeah.
I think where it came from one person not being full-time, and now, like, we're both really, like, engaged, but we haven't really figured out, like, well, what is Spencer's role? What's my role, really? Because up until this point, it's kind of been one role.
Yeah.
But, like, now he wants to take on more roles, and I want him to, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so I think our biggest struggle has just been, like, what truly, like, what is our roles? Because, like, we had no idea, huh? Like, we almost just didn't even know what to put on the paper. And then we're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, that's a problem. Like, we don't know.
Even if he chose not to do the business, he would have a role in the business.
Right.
In the sense of, like, my role is to provide for my family on this level. Like, I gotta do it no matter what. That's your lane. You gotta stay in it, and they gotta be able to trust that you're going to do that. And vice versa. If you're gonna come into the business, even if it's only part-time. So for the person that's like, I never wanted to do the business, they need to know what role they're doing to help this person succeed in the business. But even when someone's working part-time, and for me it was that way, like, what are you gonna commit to? Is there certain nights of matchup you're gonna commit to? You know, are you gonna commit to a certain amount of points? And that way, you guys, they have to be wrapped around your goals together. The overall goal of what you're trying to achieve for the year. And that happens on a quarterly basis for us, but at the beginning of the year, we set, okay, this is how many brand new recruits we're gonna have, this is how many licenses we're gonna have, this is how many points, this is gonna be our promotion, now what can you do to help us get there? I identified my own. Like, I only wanna work this many hours, and I started out working a little bit more, but we talked about exactly what I wanted to do, but that even if I went part-time, I need to show up for this many points, and I need to be responsible for building the team this much. He was like, so how many recruits are you gonna bring into the base? Like, not just personal, but how many am I gonna drive on a regular basis to help us to hit our goal? And so I gave him a number, this is what you can count on me for. And so he doesn't ever need to, like, talk to me or hold me accountable for that, but I do, I hold myself accountable. And so go through what has to happen. It doesn't have to be one person does this and the other person doesn't do any of it.
Yeah.
You guys can both do the same thing, but just declare what you're going to do. But one person may be better at something. He's way better at prospecting and getting the result than me. And I'm way better at getting the referrals than him.
And also, if something lags and there's something going on, it's also like if she has a defined role and I have a defined role, and let's just say hypothetically, her defined role, she falls off, right? And let's just say that, like, I see that and I'm like, not that I'm saying I'm upset with it or whatever it is, but I still have to take on personal responsibility that even though it was her defined role, if it didn't get done, I still have to take on personal responsibility from the we aspect. So the reality is she's taking on a defined role within this bigger thing that's we, right? And if she doesn't fulfill her defined role, it affects the we. So because I'm personally accountable in understanding that it's a we problem. So then we need to get back together and we need to talk about how we're going to make that thing happen, because maybe it was her defined role, but maybe it shouldn't have been her defined role. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, if you do what you're strong at with ease, right? The things that we have a hang up on are things that we're weak at. Whatever those things are. So it's a we problem, right? We gotta if we're going to grow to the next level, we have to figure out the solution, not you didn't do it, so it's your problem.
Yeah.
That, if you start
That's
playing,
big conflict.
if you start playing that game, like, dude, that's gonna create all kinds of issues. If you start pointing fingers, blah blah blah. And then, by the way, if you're pointing fingers and you're saying you didn't get the job done, how many times did you not do the job? I mean, right? Probably countless times you messed up someplace. So you start pointing the fingers at your spouse. I mean, really what you need to do is you need to turn the finger back around at yourself and say, okay, what didn't I do? And I'm sure you're going to come up with a list of things. And if you felt like you nailed every single thing and the spouse didn't, it's still a we problem, right? If you nailed every single thing and your spouse didn't, that means you probably had extra time. You could have gone and nailed it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're that much of the master of you're not taking on enough responsibility. If you're that much of the master of nailing responsibilities, maybe you need to take on another responsibility, right? I mean, I don't know. That's how I think about it.
But I just want to say, like, when it comes to that, like, the strength of your marriage is more important than the business. And that's why you're always building each other up. like the business together is your goal. That is the defined thing that's going to help us achieve the things we want. And so it's really about you protecting each other mentally, and just the ultimate goal, and what he's saying is to win.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal is to hit your goals, you know, like, so it is about stepping up to plate when there'll be months where he'll be weak and there'll be no points, but I know I just got to step it up because ultimately it's our goal. And this month, right now, like, I'm going through some personal point issue, but like, he'll be like, not tear me down for that, but like, we might have to get together and be like, okay, we got 2 weeks left of the month. How are you looking? Right? Like, what do you think we could do now? Maybe we got to readjust to make sure we still hit the ultimate goal.
But then it's your responsibility, like, as the person, to not get defensive about it.
Yeah.
And to, like, because I think we're all guilty, like, I'm guilty of that, and so is Spence, of just, like, okay, let's have a conversation, but then your defenses go up, and you're like, yeah, but, you know what I mean? Like, it's so hard to, I think.
But the more you work on everything else we talked about, it's not. You guys will understand that the business actually will make you stronger as a couple. Like, things can't pull us apart because we grew together and we built something together.
The title of the show is Weaponize Your Business with Being a Power Couple, right? So the power couple makes the business, not the business making the power couple. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The power couple makes the business. You guys together make the business, not the business makes you guys a power couple. Hey guys, thanks for coming out today. Really appreciate your time. This was wonderful. We got a lot out of this.
Yeah.
I hope that we were able to bring some value to you too, but you know, really I'm just excited about being in business with two strong individuals who are together as a couple winning in a big way. So thanks a lot for taking time out.
Thank you, guys.